Good afternoon, and thank you for joining. Good afternoon, and thank you for joining me in the shop. This is the first time I've done one of these live like this, so bear with me. Once again, from my natural habitat, coffee, pipe in hand, and we're going to answer some questions that we already have after this. But thank you all for tuning in and listening and watching. I'm going to put my coffee down and my pipe down. I got to turn around. Now, I understand I have several questions that people are looking to have answered. So, what are the questions?
What's your favorite stone to work with?
What is my favorite stone to work with? Well, I like all of them, that's obvious, but my favorite is tourmaline. And the reason is it's a very durable, very beautiful stone. It comes in just about every shade of color and variations that you can think of. And if I had to choose one stone, that would be the one I would choose to work with. I specialize in them anyway. So that would be my answer for stones, but I do like all of them. So what's my next question?
Are you toying with bringing back any old design elements for new pieces this year? Something like your oak leaves.
Okay, am I planning on bringing back old? Well, as I said, I will. There have been some exceptions, and there is one I'm going to be announcing here in the near future. But what I am planning on doing is not bringing back old designs in their original form. I am going to do a retro this year where I take some of my favorite older designs. One of those, which will be available here coming this week, is my new dragon. If someone would hand me over there's two waxes on my wax bench. I had a customer that wanted a dragon. Yes, those. Wanted a dragon for a pendant, but we didn't want to use the original piece. So what I did is, this is the original version of this dragon, which was out about 5 years ago. What I did is I reworked it in the wax to create a new version of it. And you can see the differences. The head has been made larger, the horns are larger, the wing is larger, the flames are larger, and we've beefed it up and changed its appearance. So this is one of my retros where I'm going to take some of my older designs and rework them into new designs based on the old pieces. So that's the answer to that question. So what is my next question?
Where do you source your materials?
My sources for
silver
materials. We deal with several American refiners that specialize in recycling, and they know the sources of their raw materials. I have been dealing with them for one of them in particularly for almost 50 years, and have a personal relationship with the owners, the current owners, the grandfather, and it's a company that's been in business since the 1890s. Other questions?
Where's the company located? Is it here in America? Is it overseas?
It's in America. It's in Pennsylvania, as a matter of fact.
How to get started?
How did you get started in all this metalworking?
Oh my God, that's a lifelong question. It goes back to my childhood. I saw something on television about gold nuggets when I was about 8 years old, and I decided I was going to make me a gold nugget. Well, long story short, I tried to melt down my mother's gold chains in an iron skillet so I could make me a gold nugget. Result, doesn't work, turns them black, and I learned how to clean them with baking soda and a toothbrush. It was an interesting experience. But also part of that is I was raised in the military. We lived abroad. In 1956, I lived in Japan. And where we lived near us, there was a small village called Yamoto-cho. And in the village of Yamoto-cho, there was a street known as Matamochi Street, which roughly means Street of Merchants. And I used to go hang out down there. You could buy fireworks, you could buy goldfish, you could whatever. You know, I'm a kid. And this store had a suit of Japanese armor and sword fittings in the window, and that's how I first found it. And I would go in there and hang out and watch the guy work, and he was always impeccably neat, short gray hair, black kimono, and he would talk to me in broken English and Japanese, and I would talk to him in broken Japanese and English, and he would show me things and do things. Well, the upstart of the story is years later, when I had my own jewelry store, a lady brought in a ring to be repaired. And she was very concerned that an American goldsmith would be able to do it properly because it had been made abroad. We got to talking, and it turns out it was made in a little goldsmith shop on Matamochi Street in the village of Yamoto-cho in 1956. And I might have even been there when that ring was being made. So this is, for me, pardon me a minute, this is a lifelong journey. I had been fascinated by it ever since I was a child, and when I got out of the service in 1969, I had to find a way to make a living, and I found a German master in Philadelphia on Sampson Street, who has long since passed away, and convinced him to take me as an apprentice, and I have been at it ever since. So what I want to do now is, having answered these questions, I want to show you what I'm doing today. I'm going to be working on a wrist torque that I am making for a client. So if we don't have any more questions right now, I'm going to focus on making and starting working on this wrist torque. What I'm going to be doing is, they have one already and they want a second one, and they want it slightly smaller than the one they have. So what I'm going to do is take a length of wire, and I'm going to move over here to my anvil and bend this. This is how we go about making the ends for the wrist torque. They want it slightly smaller. It's for her daughter, I believe. So I'm going to use her wrist torque to get the measurements I need on this. And that's about right, I think. All right, I'm going to cut this off. Then I am going to anneal it, which is softening it, so I can then finish bending it. Things I need to do that I should have done before I started, but right now I can do it at any time because it's still capable of doing it. I'm going to solder the ends just a little bit to keep them closed so they don't bend like that did. So I've got to tighten that down. There we go. Put flux on here.
What does flux do?
Flux is a lubricant and a cleaner. It allows the solder to flow. In fact, if I tried to do this without flux, the solder would just sit there and ball up on me and look at me. It wouldn't go anywhere. The flux is a combination of muriatic and boric acid, borax. Muriatic acid and borax. And in fact, I'll show you. Hang on just a second. And I'll get a piece of scrap silver, which I have a lot of. This piece of scrap silver. Let me cut a couple more pieces of solder here. And get a pair of tweezers. I'm going to set these on here in separate places. I'm going to put a little bit of flux right there. And I'll put another piece of solder where the flux is. I'll move my heads out of the way. Now, what I said was I'm going to heat it up. And you can see what happens. The flux creates a film and adds lubricant. The piece that isn't fluxed will just sit there and it won't do anything. It might bead up once it gets hot enough. You can see it still sitting there, that little square. Now what happens right there? See it flow? Real quick. I can sit here and heat on this for a long time. It's not going to do anything except sit there. So the flux allows the solder to flow. It also keeps the surface of the piece clean from oxidation. And what I want to do is just solder the ends of the wire together so that they do not spread out when I finish the bending. I'm just going to use enough solder to connect all of those little pieces there. Okay, and that creates a tack. Now I'm going to do it on the other side. I need another pair of tweezers here. Not that I have enough of them. Oh, by the way, you never touch anything in here without something because it's hot and it will hurt. And I've done it upon any number of occasions by not thinking. And there's no one in this business that will tell you they've never been burned, cut with a saw, run a drill into their finger, or done something stupid. It happens. We try to avoid it. Okay, that's enough solder to hold those together so they do not open up when I try to bend it the rest of the way. You never can find the pair you want when you need them. Now there we go, there's the pair. That's why I have as many pair in the drawer I do. I'm going to heat this whole piece up now. It's called annealing. You can watch it turn. It'll turn to a dull gray. And it's softening it, which makes it a whole lot easier to bend and shape. You can actually watch the flame, and you'll see a line develop on either side of the flame. And that tells me that it's annealing. That's good.
Oh, it's turning red at the end. Ah,
Yep.
cool.
I am now going to put this in my pickle pot, which is a solution of acid to clean it, rinse it in water. Now I'm going to finish bending it.
And now you can totally touch it.
Yeah, I can touch it now.
Pretty good. I was trying to share a couple places and so
That's a jeweler's anvil. A little smaller than your average blacksmith's anvil, but it does the same job. An anvil is one of the most important tools you can own in metalworking, whether it's goldsmithing, silversmithing, or ornamental ironwork. Just in case these got hot, I'm going to dip them in water before I pick them up, just to be safe. Now, let's see. Yeah, that's close to what I need. I'm going to open the bases of these heads up.
What are you using?
I am using a cutting burr. It's a very sharp, well, I'm looking for one that's sharp. I know I got some here. I was using them yesterday. But I just drop things in my bench and keep going. And that's why I have a number of them laying around. Okay, that's close to fit. Now I'm going to taper the ends of this down just a little bit because I did get it a little out of shape when I bent it the first time. I want this to go in so I can have this at an angle. Not quite big enough yet. You know what? I'm going to get a fresh burr that's clean and sharp. There's the size I want right there. You'll see the difference with a new clean one. And hear the difference too. Even though this is high carbon steel and very sharp, precious metals like silver and gold will take the edge off of these things so quick it's not even funny.
Well, that's why jewelry lasts so long, right?
No, it has nothing to do with, it's because it is soft and it creates it binds, it gets stuck in, and...
Oh, like putting a crayon in a pencil sharpener.
Yeah. Okay. We'll put the first head on. And then I'm going to let this pickle for a while, and we will answer any other questions that have come in, if there are any.
I have one.
Okay.
It was asked, what is the most memorable piece you have made so far?
Wow. That is a difficult question to answer, and the reason is I have a simple philosophy in this, and it goes back to the German master that I learned from. He was 10th generation from Edel Oberstein in Germany. They got out right before Kristallnacht and immigrated to the States. But I guess the answer to that is the most memorable piece of jewelry I've ever made is I haven't made it yet. And the reason for that is simple. The day I believe it is the most interesting thing or the best thing I could ever make, I believe that is the day I retire. Because I keep trying to improve and grow as I learn. And yes, you can continue learning new skills. I'm old-fashioned in the sense that I still use all of the old techniques. I don't use a laser welder. They're great, and they can actually be of a benefit in certain types of jewelry work. I don't do trade work anymore, so I'm not retipping a lot of rings or things of that nature. I've had two of my apprentices now go on to be masters that are working for major jewelry companies, and they both have laser welders in their shop, and they use them daily. But I'm old-fashioned. I still do it with all my hand tools. I'm gonna put this in the pickle pot and stop for a minute.
We have another question.
Okay.
How do you choose a stone for a piece?
How do I choose a stone for a piece? Well, hang on.
Field trip.
This is one that I've chosen for a piece that I'm thinking about making as a one of a kind. It's a big moonstone, and this is how these things go. When I'm doing this, I will set these pieces out, and I will start thinking about a design. And what happens is I have a whole tray full of parts over here, and as you can see, there are different pieces of metal in here. I will set and take and lay the patterns out around it because this is a big stone. What I'm thinking about doing is making a choker with a chain on it. It's not going to be an inexpensive piece because that's a very expensive moonstone. But I have these different pieces that I can fit together, and this is how I come up with some of my designs. I'll sit here and I will play with things like putting that knotwork in between so that it connects the two pieces, and figuring out the chain that would go on it to make it a choke. So, and when I do this, if I do it, I will probably make the first one of the links in gold, the bezel for the stone in gold, and then the links connecting the silver pieces in gold. So this is one of the ways I go about doing it. People that have worked in the shop have watched me sit down and lay out stone after stone going, what can I do with this? And that's exactly how they get created. What else we got there? Any others?
Not at the moment.
No.
No more?
That's it for now.
All right, well, how long have we been doing this now? About 10 minutes?
25.
25.
25. Well, I think that's probably long enough. I can finish this, and people can go about more important things on this beautiful Sunday afternoon than standing here listening to me run my yap. But anyway, thank you for tuning in, and love you all. Stay well, stay healthy. See you in the future. Bye.